Here I am, your big fat hero.
Say the line, Victor!
The glorious evolution.
All my friends are dead and they don't like me anymore. They've moved along, they've changed, and now they find me quite a bore. Way back then it was okay to be a little weird, but all my friends are dead. Hello, citizens of Piltover and creatures of Zon. I'm internet personality Malcontent, and this is another episode of my favorite show, 10minutedailyvideo.net, your place for 10-minute daily video.net. Alright, so quickie review for those interested. Like, here's your last plea. This is your last spoiler warning for your big fat Arcane video. Arcane might be the best show I've ever seen. It does everything that it's one of the most beautifully animated. Some of the greatest character designs. Great use of video game lore without it being cheesy or hokey. Okay, we're going to start with this. This is the big one. This is it. We're starting with the big one. Here it is. Title card for this, please. We're going to start with who's the top, Kate or Vi. After a little bit of conversation, there is a prolonged makeout and disrobing scene. Guess who goes down on who first? Immediately. As if there was no question on who was doing what to who first. So that's settled. Case closed. Kate's the top. Okay, so the next section is influences on the actual game. The Arcane has shown us that they can be flung into alternate timelines, possibly other dimensions.
In all timelines, in all possibilities.
This is pretty cool. I'm sure Riot Company, I'm sure parent company Riot is very excited about the fact that they have lore justification for their skins now. But I think the upturn on this is that we're going to get Star Guardians series, right? Like, there's no question in my mind now. So now it makes sense why there's so many skins, is because there's a bunch of different universes. But the other game influences that I really like, they do some kind of direct feeling moments. Towards the end of the series, Kate is shooting. This Kate shooting at like this. This feels like playing her in the game. Also, Warwick vision. This is how I imagine it would look if you were first person playing Warwick in the game. And lastly, this dynamic here with, I'm guaranteeing that Mel here, it's Mel, right? She's definitely going to be turned into a champion, and she's going to be a support. Also, side note, I do like that betrayers get got in this show. That's right! That's what you get, a bullet in the fucking head! That's right! This also makes League of Legends make even more sense with its own universe, The game League of Legends, I know what it looks like, but the lore was always kind of scatterbrained because the idea was all of these different characters were pulled maybe from different universes. But the way it looks now to me is Runeterra is this big place where all of these goofballs fit somewhere. And we're just playing with those characters kind of at their peak. So not only does the game League of Legends make more sense, but the skins make more sense, all because they had the intelligence to have the time-traveling character go to an alternate universe.
It seems the anomaly which dislodged us from our proverbial reality also scattered us across time.
Which, I mean, it feels basic, but sometimes I swear people who make things don't know what they're doing. All right, that's all I really want to talk about for the actual game League of Legends. If you haven't played it, I mean, right now there's so many different ways to play games involving this world, right? There's a role-playing game, there's a fighting game coming out.
I run this place.
There's a card game. The card game, actually, if you like Arcane, you should play Runeterra because there's a ton of lore. I was just like pointing at characters. I'm like, that's an Ionian. That's an Ionian. All right, this section is about Heimerdinger.
But somehow the correct solution continued to elude me.
Our big fat hero. Heimerdinger, like I said, I feel like they don't take the Yordles very seriously, and I'd like to say right here in this part of the video that Riot Games, if you want me to write a gritty story about Rumble and his eclectic Bandle City friends dealing with an incredibly harsh reality, basically like taking the Yordles seriously and getting some pathos, I would love to write that story. I loved this first episode of 3. It gave me exactly what I was missing from the last 3 episodes in the middle. The middle section, I felt like I was really wanting to know what was going on with Ekko and Heimerdinger. And I, of course, wanted to know why Jace was the way he was. And I love that they're just like flung across time and space. And I love that Heimerdinger plays guitar, has like a little Bob Dylan-esque song.
Let him turn. Thank you very much.
It's the most serious they take Donger. Like, Heimerdinger gets like a lot of great moments and eventually gets to be Doc Brown. No! This reference is great. I love it with the goggles and plugging it in just like in Back to the Future. You know, I'm not sure if Heimerdinger is dead or just flung into a different universe or what. Oh, there we go, Riot. Let me write it. Rumble looking for Heimerdinger. Let's do it. Talking more about that, I really liked Ekko and Heimerdinger together. I really like that Ekko, like the entire time we're watching this series, if you know anything about the game, you're just wondering, when is he going to get time travel? I love that his little chrono thing, which is like his defining characteristics in the game. Not only was it invented as a way to get back to the prime timeline or his regular timeline, his actual timeline, but it was also like it was an accident, and then he got to use it at the end of the series to be yet another big fat hero, which I loved. I'm a big fan of Ekko. I was a huge fan of his kit when it came out. I played a lot of Ekko. In fact, this show is kind of made for me. Every single character I played several dozen hours, if not longer, particularly Heimerdinger, particularly Vi, Ekko, and Jinx. I love that Heimerdinger and Ekko got to work together. I love that they have that backstory. I love, well, we'll talk more about Jinx at the end, but I just love that we get to see this version of Jinx that's differently traumatized. And I love that line. I love this Victor line.
That device can't be.
I love that line. It's incredible. I would watch a spin-off show with Ekko and Donger any day. Actually, if Rumble were to recruit Ekko to find him, that'd be good for me too, because Ekko's not really doing anything. So yeah. Riot Games has always had incredible music associated with it. One of the other things that's been very hard to describe to people is that game, you know, that game where these people play it, that game has like some of the best music ever associated with it. You've got, you know, the K-pop music. You've got the heavy metal music. Now with Arcane, you have basically a flawless original soundtrack. Can you imagine ever thinking that Imagine Dragons was going to make one of the best, most iconic theme songs of all time? No! What's amazing, and I don't remember it so much in season 1, but in season 2, the use of montage and music videos, like basically just making a little music video to tell this part of the story is amazing, and I can't believe we're not seeing more of it generally. You can tell a lot of story within like a music video. Like famously, music videos tell stories. So it's incredible to me that this studio had the forethought to make. I don't want to say truncate, but it is. I mean, they're truncating the story with these music videos to keep everything going in a very brisk manner. Like where this is like, not only is this like one of the weirdest shows to describe because it's kind of steampunk, magic, sci-fi, but it's also like based on a video game, and it has these like punk sewer aesthetics. I don't know, and it's just as difficult to explain how critical the music is to Arcane. Obviously it's not a musical, but you can't imagine it without the soundtrack. I mean, it's incredible. Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of video essays just picking apart just how good the soundtrack is, not just me. All right, let's talk about the Noxians and that weird doctor guy. I thought that doctor was singed. Is he not? Is he singed? Any rate, at the very least, he made Ari.
Worth gaining. Worth fighting for.
I really like that this doctor guy ends up working for the Noxians. I have played League of Legends a long time, and I've always wondered why the Noxians had this like penchant for making Frankensteins. The thing about Noxians is they don't have a lot of like scientist types. They have like some weird witches and vampires.
Your daughter is wiser than you credit.
But they also have like mostly this kind of strong arm barbarianism type stuff. But then they also had these like green goopy guys. And these green goopy guys kind of reminded me of Zonites. Like there's a lot of like Zon characters that have green goopy stuff, Warwick, etc. Characters I'm thinking of as Urgot, and I'm thinking of Scion. They're characters who are like these fierce battle, like these warriors or like alchemists or whatever. They're better off for Noxus alive than dead. So it's great to see where that all comes from. There was some speculation that this guy made Ori, this robot girl.
Worth fighting for.
I'm glad that we got confirmation of that. I would love for her to be in the next League of Legends project. The game is kind of like these characters that are dying for more content. I love that a very, like, one faction of Noxus shows up, and these psycho Noxians basically orchestrate all the negative consequences. I'm glad our girl Kate sees through it eventually. And yeah, I love these fight scenes at the end. I love Kate taking her on her own terms.
You remember. Shut up and fight!
Because, like, Piltover and Zahn doesn't seem like an area that would fight back against Noxus that much. Like, because, like, the thing you gotta understand, in previous lore about Piltover and Zahn is that they're goofy psychos, or they're, like, weird cops with robot appendages, or, you know, robot arms, or whatever, right? So there's this, like, frailty that seems to come through with Piltover and Zahn characters compared to Noxian characters that look big and buff and everything. I love that on their own terms, the Piltover people and the Zahnites are able to hold their ground, and more than that, win. What else we got to say about Noxus besides that Mal's outfits are just, they're fire every, like, like, they dressed everybody really well, but boy. One more observation. When I was grabbing clips of Mel's incredible outfits, I did remember to point out that Swain is this raven here, and he keeps showing up. He's like all over the place. So I don't know how many scenes he's in, but he shows up a lot, especially after Mel gets away. When they got to, like, make up a cut, let these people design champions for you, Riot Games. Okay, we're done with Noxus. Except to say that they're going to be the bad guy a bunch of times. I'm really looking forward to seeing these guys get their heads kicked in by Ionians. And more importantly, I wanted to briefly touch on the theme of Noxus. For a long time, I kind of thought they were low-key supposed to be Americans. But moreover, there's like a little redneck yordle that acts just like, you know, just like an Appalachian psycho hill person. It totally makes sense, but then you remember, like, this show really fleshes out, it's not that they're just Americans, they're fascists. So what I mean to say is, when I thought they were low-key American before, they're actually high-key American. This section is called Embracing Peak Weirdness. This show is all about Jace and Victor's relationship. Jace and Victor are our excuse to get into the really weird stuff that I don't think has ever really been fleshed out before this show. Riot, of course, knew what these guys were up to this whole time, and I'm sure they had a whole writing team working on this. They've had these terms forever. They've had hex tech for forever. It's like a term they've been using forever. They've referenced the Arcane a bunch. What I really like about Arcane, and this is present in both seasons, is it's basically, the concept is, what if magic were real? Well, a bunch of weirdo scientists would weaponize it.
You want us to build weapons?
Because you gotta remember, this all started with transportation using magic. So what I love about Arcane is it embraces the weirdness, the peak weirdness.
This conflict.
It talks about a particle that destroys itself and rebuilds itself, right? It has time travel, it has alternate dimensions. If there is a weird sci-fi or magic idea out there, they do it. I love that at its core, that everybody in this, aside from some of the other characters, like half of the cast are just mad scientists. Ekko, mad scientist. Heimerdinger, mad scientist. Jinx, mad scientist. Jace, mad scientist. Victor, mad scientist, right? I love that it's just mad scientists trying to figure out what to do with magic. It's like my favorite concept that Arcane does, because I've been trying to explain this to people in my real life forever, that if magic were real, scientists would do something. They would do stuff to it and eventually just shrug and say, well, that's magic. I don't know. That's magic. I really, really love when sci-fi and magic are put head to head, and you usually get this kind of steampunk aesthetic, and that's usually what people settle on what to describe the series, but it's fantasy sci-fi. That's what it is. It's got magic. There's dragons. There's gods. There's all this stuff that these characters are not even aware of. They reference Janna in the sewers.
Some wispy wind woman wafts to their rescue.
Janna's a real god. We're gonna find out that she's really was stuck there from Mount Targon or something. So now let's talk about some of the emotional beats. I'm not gonna get to all of them. We'll see if there's another episode in me about this in the future, but we're trying to get as many of my initial feelings out as possible. All right, let's talk about. Here's something about me. I am a sucker for fuck-ups trying to redeem themselves. And dead dads.
Then I could finally be free. Maybe
the latter is from personal experience. I cried a lot watching this show.
nothing can grow. I used to have strength, but I ran out of hope.
I relate on a really deep level with characters who have been written off, who have been underestimated. Specifically, I like characters who've completely toileted their lives and still try to fix it.
Break the cycle.
I know, I like it. The harder they try to not fix it, the better it is for me. Jinx is a character I did not think I was going to relate to as hard as I was going to relate to.
I didn't know your mom was there. It probably wouldn't have made a difference, but I didn't know.
There's a dead mom for Kate, right? And I'm not trying to diminish that. Her position is very similar to a father figure in that Caitlyn is trying to outstep her shadow or get above her legacy. They talk about that in season 1 a bit. Vi and Jinx, Powder, have a complicated relationship with Vander, their dad.
I know. Pow pow, I know.
Everything is about Jinx. This series is the Jinx saga. Yes, a lot of things get established with Noxian magic. Yes, a lot of things get established with how hex tech works and how it taps magic powers using science. Yes, it talks about how Heimerdinger's hair is always incredible. What was the other thing that this is about? Yes, this is to flesh out the neighborhood-like relationship that Zonites have and the snooty elitism of Piltover. It's also about marriaging of those two worlds with Vi and Caitlyn. You know, it's all about these things. But it's really all about Jinx.
Here I am, your big fat hero.
Jinx's colors are pink and blue. The pink representing Jinx and the blue representing Powder. I'm not saying she has split personalities. I'm saying that there's a moment in her life where she stopped being Powder and became Jinx. And there are moments while being Jinx where she reverts back to being Powder. This is about Jinx losing her dad and then losing her other dad. This is about Jinx becoming a mother and losing her child. This is about Jinx losing herself over and over till when the only thing she wants to do is die.
Maybe death is like falling asleep.
If you have a time travel gimmick and you don't make a suicide joke, you're a coward. It's the funniest time to make suicide jokes.
See if I can talk an old friend out of blowing us up.
I'm tired of talking.
By the way, in case you're wondering, in the Jinx Ekko relationship, in the different, Jinx is the top. I don't think there's any question there.
Sometimes taking a leap forward means leaving a few things behind.
What is the corruption that is the impetus for all the shenanigans in this series? What is it? It's a corrupted Arcane. If it's not Jinx herself, right, causing chaos and confusion, it's this particle.
Is open, Jinx.
What colors? What colors are these particles? Oh, they're pink and blue, are they? How interesting! I have a theory that goes along with that. Yeah, I'm gonna say the Arcane being random like that and pink and blue is directly tied into Jinx and Jinx dying. I think it's all tied into each other. Like, Jinx is the most important character, and it's obvious why. This studio started working with Riot Games, and they made this opus. This, like, I didn't play League of Legends in 2009. And the things that kept me in the game were Jinx and these amazing animations and the Yordles. But I love Jinx the most. I've loved her character design. I love her name. I love pink and blue. They're like my favorite color combination. I couldn't ask for a better like send up to such a great character. And it makes sense because they owe everything to her. That Get Jinx video, like, it's the blueprint of the entire show. Riot created a much better Joker. This is my favorite show, and it's not just because of Jinx. I think all the reasons before this, but like chief among them, they made her the most important because she is the most important. The first story they did, they had to tell these stories. They had to confirm Vi and Jinx being sisters. They had to confirm, how Warwick was created or where Ari comes from. They needed to do these things, and I love it. So we got it, right? I'm horny for Jinx. We got it. Okay. Conclusion. When they said there was only going to be one more season of Arcane, I was super duper relieved. I hate that nobody plans an ending anymore. I'm so sick of these shows that have these big, ambitious beginnings and no endings. The best shows are truncated but could have more. Arcane is part of a small part of a much larger world. As a fan, I know I want to see Ionian stories. I want to see different studios doing different artworks, telling different stories that are all tied in some way. I want it. This series is incredible. It's gorgeous. It shows that it was like the most expensive animated show of all time. Okay, well, that was a lot. Like and subscribe. Patreon. Episode over.